Welcome back, nerds! Today's episode, smart people doing dumb things. Today we're looking at bulletproof plans that made perfect sense. Spoiler, they were completely wrong, but didn't know it yet. Oh, and I brought a tiny golden chair. It's a visual metaphor, just roll with it.
We've got a king fighting the ocean, a con man selling the Eiffel Tower, and a town held hostage by dancing. Every single mastermind here had a flawless plan that spectacularly backfired. Except the dog. The dog crushed it. Anyway, enjoy this profound shot of my empty chair.
It looks perfectly reasonable on paper until reality hits. Suddenly, your what actually happened report requires an attached document longer than the original plan. If your post-mortem needs a forklift, you messed up.
Let's meet today's suspects, all boasting big ambitions and terrible execution. We have a king who left the ocean on reed, and a con artist whose victims were too mortified to call the cops. Add in a dancer and a suit. Out of 5 approved plans, only the dog pulled his off.
In Corner 1, King Canute drags his throne to the beach to yell at the tide. Corner 2, Victor Lustig has enough riz to sell a Parisian landmark he doesn't own. Corner 3, a 16th century town cures a disease by forcing everyone to frantically dance until their feet bleed.
Down below, corporate executives confidently launch a soda that accidentally starts a massive street riot outside their window. Finally, a sweaty politician gets absolutely bodied in an election by a serene dog. He lost 67-32. The town actively chose the dog, and it wasn't even close.
Kings, con men, and CEOs really believed they were the main characters of history. But as you're about to see, the universe only reserves its true blessings for the dog. Just look at him staring into the camera. He knows exactly what he did.
Welcome to History is Stupid, Episode 3. Theme, the plan made perfect sense at the time. Grab your snacks, hit subscribe, and let's go.
It's 1020 AD, and this guy basically runs half of Europe. He's got the crown, the cape, and the posture of a man who has literally never been told no in his entire life. Today, he's about to have a very serious conversation with the ocean. Spoiler alert, the ocean doesn't care.
Canute was surrounded by the original yes men. These guys spent all day pumping up his ego, literally telling him he was so powerful that nature itself would obey him. Instead of laughing it off, Canute just processes this logic and hits them with the ultimate flex. Bring my throne to the beach.
Here's the thing history gets wrong. Canute wasn't an idiot. He noticed these absolute kiss-ups telling him he controlled the universe, and his brain went into pure scientist mode. He basically thought, oh, I control nature? Cool, let's go run an experiment on the ocean and see what happens.
So his poor servants drag this incredibly heavy, solid gold piece of indoor furniture across a sandy beach, which is a logistical nightmare. They plop it right at the waterline. The courtiers try to stand around looking majestic while getting absolutely battered by the wind, and Canute just sits down like he's in his living room.
This is it! The most powerful man in Europe is about to order water to stop being water! His courtiers are having 6 different internal panic attacks, the ocean has absolutely zero idea who this guy is, and Canute raises his scepter with pure, unironic swagger.
Everyone takes a deep breath. Canute hits the ocean with his loudest, most aggressively royal voice. I command thee to stop! And the ocean's response?
Absolutely nothing. It just keeps doing ocean stuff because it predates the concept of human kings by about 4 billion years. Canute just sits there waiting for the water to respect his authority. His advisors are currently dissociating to survive the awkwardness. He clears his throat and tries one more time, just in case the ocean didn't hear him the first time. The ocean responds by sending a slightly bigger wave. Let's check the scoreboard. Canute 0, ocean still going. The water starts creeping up his royal boots, and instead of throwing a tantrum, Canute just quietly recalibrates his worldview. Meanwhile, his courtiers are doing this hilarious, involuntary line dance, trying to run away from the tide while pretending everything is totally normal. His royal robes are soaked, and a random crab has arrived to also not respect his authority. Canute gives a little nod. Hypothesis tested, experiment over. But just as he stands up, the North Sea decides to deliver the final punchline in the form of a noticeably larger wave. While his advisors are tripping over each other in a blind panic, Canute just crosses his arms and takes the hit like an absolute tank. The wave crashes, his crown goes sideways, and he is drenched. But what does he do? He calmly reaches up, straightens his crown, and maintains flawless composure. Legend.
His advisors are covered in seaweed and questioning their life choices. But here is where the history books hit you with the twist. Canute knew it wouldn't work. He gives them a tiny wink. He dragged them out there, got completely soaked, just to prove to his yes men that his earthly power was meaningless compared to nature. He did it on purpose. You can practically hear the light bulbs turning on over his advisors' heads. The guy who's aggressively nodding this whole time finally stops. Canute just gestures to the crashing waves like, see? Next time you tell me I control the universe, remember this. And that one smart advisor just gives the camera a tiny nod of vindication.
Canute walks away with his dignity intact and his boots squelching loudly with every step. Nobody wants to drag the heavy gold chair back, so they just abandon it to the seagulls for the day. Canute takes off his boot and pours out what looks like 3 gallons of seawater. After this, Canute supposedly took off his crown, put it on a statue in a church, and never wore it again, stating no earthly king was worthy of it. He pulled off an insane stunt that ruined his shoes, all to make a profound philosophical point to his staff. And honestly, it worked.
Canute went on to be an incredibly capable just king, and his advisors, they actually stopped blindly agreeing with him and started giving real counsel. He kept his crinkled, salt-stained boots as a reminder, while the ocean just kept doing exactly what the ocean does.
People usually tell this story as a warning about a vain king who thought he was a god, but they have it completely backwards. It's a story about a smart boss proving why having yes men is a terrible, disastrous idea. 1,000 years later, people are still standing on that exact same beach. A king ruined his favorite boots just to prove that nature always wins, and the ocean is still there, proving him right today. Anyway, up next, we're heading to 1925 Paris. A con man sold the Eiffel Tower to a scrap metal dealer. He didn't own it. And then he sold it again. Welcome to Paris 1925. Meet Victor Lustig, a guy who spoke 5 languages, had 45 fake names, and possessed the insane confidence of a dude about to steal your girl and your life savings. Bro didn't carry snacks in his briefcase, he carried top-tier government-grade forgery tools. And as he sipped his morning espresso, staring at the Eiffel Tower, his brain literally went, yeah, I'm gonna sell that giant metal triangle. He reads a headline whining about how expensive the Eiffel Tower is to maintain. Most people would turn the page. Lustig? His brain just did the ultimate cash register cha-ching sound. He jots down his heist plan, drops a massive tip because he's basically rolling in future scam money, and visualizes the ultimate play. Step 1, forge docs. Step 2, get paid. Step 3, absolutely leg it. Lustig locks himself in a hotel room for 2 days doing arts and crafts, but instead of making a macaroni necklace, he's making flawless, top-secret government documents to trap 5 insanely rich scrap metal dealers. Suit on, scam activated. He sends out 5 invitations to the biggest scrap dealers in town, and because it has a shiny government seal on it, these absolute billionaires sit up straight like they just got called on by the teacher. He sets the bait in a luxury hotel room. 5 rich guys walk in, including our boy Andre Poisson, who is basically sweating desperation because he wants to be a VIP so badly. Lustig drops the bomb. The city is broke, the tower's getting scrapped, and they are taking bids. Oh, and shh, it's a massive secret. Boom! He just isolated them so they can't fact-check him. The suspicious guy literally holds the fake documents up to the light like he's inspecting a $100 bill. But Lustig's arts and crafts were so good, the guy buys it. Meanwhile, the actual tower is right outside the window like, am I a joke to you? Poisson separates from the pack. He goes home, crunches the numbers, and realizes scraping the tower is actually super profitable. The math made sense. He calls Lustig to beg for a VIP one-on-one. Lustig hits him with the classic, I don't know, man. Are you sure you're cool enough to buy this? Poisson panics, throws even more money at him, and actually feels relieved when Lustig says yes. 70 grand, cash, in 1925 money. Lustig doesn't even count it, because counting it would look suspicious. He just writes a fake receipt on a fake piece of paper, shakes his hand, and boom, the greatest heist in history. While Poisson is outside taking mental selfies with his new tower, Lustig packs the cash with zero emotion, drops a fat tip for the bellboy, and ghosts Paris. Lustig is on a train to nowhere, never looking back. Poisson is sitting at his desk, calling a dead number, before finally marching into the actual government office, only to be told, "Sir, this is a Wendy's, and the Eiffel Tower is not for sale." Poisson is so deeply embarrassed that he just eats the loss. He tells nobody. And because Poisson stayed quiet to protect his ego, Lustig literally comes back to Paris to do it again. Bro really pulled the exact same scam. Same fake documents, same hotel room, same pitch. He brings in 5 fresh victims, points out the window at the exact same tower, and hits play on the tape. One guy almost figures it out, but sees everyone else nodding like sheep and goes, well, if they think it's legit. Another target isolates himself, Lustig bags the cash again, and is back sipping espresso. Both victims were too embarrassed to go to the cops. The Eiffel Tower just stood there, completely chilling, completely unsold. Meanwhile, Lustig had 45 aliases and basically a hat for every crime. He finally got busted for counterfeiting years later. He died in prison, and his death certificate listed his job as apprentice salesman. Apprentice? Pro sold the Eiffel Tower twice. The only thing he was apprenticing in was absolute menace behavior. Let's move towards story 3, the dancing plague of 1518. Strasbourg, 1518, a completely normal city that was having an absolutely terrible time. We're talking famine, disease, and folks desperately praying for a break. Spoiler alert, they did not get a break. Enter Frau Troffea. She walked into this totally normal square, uninvited, with zero music playing, and just started dancing. And the wildest part, she literally couldn't stop. Imagine seeing a perfectly normal lady busting a move on hard cobblestones in absolute silence. This guy is literally all of us looking around like, did I miss the DJ? Where's the music? Hours go by, night falls, and she is still going. Her poor feet are getting wrecked on those cobblestones, and her husband is just standing there doing the classic, I have 0 procedures for this face. Her husband tried to stop her and accidentally became her dance partner. Neighbors tried feeding her, wrestling her, and aggressively praying at her. Nothing worked, so the crowd just did what crowds do best. Absolutely nothing. She's clearly trapped in her own body and exhausted. So a city official shows up, literally just writes it down in his little notebook, and walks away to snitch. Oh yes, peak bureaucracy. Then it spreads. A second person joins. One smart guy in the back just nopes right out of there. By the end of the week, 34 people are doing this involuntary, unsynchronized silent disco. It overflows into the streets and right into City Hall. The guards try to stop them, but you can't bounce someone who is physically unable to stop vibing. From a drone's view, it looks like a party, but on the ground, it is pure nightmare fuel. The city council calls an emergency meeting, totally ignoring the crisis right out the window. The doctors go in, examine people mid-jig, and conclude it's hot blood. The prescription? They just need to dance it out of their system. To cure them, the city literally builds a stage and hires a live band to make them dance harder. This is the 1500s equivalent of fighting a fire with a flamethrower. Shockingly, the live music made it so much worse. The death toll starts climbing as people literally dance until their hearts give out. Panicking, the council holds another meeting. The church screams, "It's the wrath of Saint Vitus!" And the doctors, totally out of ideas, just shrug and go with it. They announce a mandatory holy road trip to a shrine. Watching guards try to politely herd a mob of unstoppable dancers out of the city gates is pure chaotic energy. With the square finally quiet, the mob arrives at the shrine. The priests there are completely unfazed, holding the prescribed cure, magic red shoes. Because sure, why not? Try putting shoes on someone whose feet are locked in tap dance mode. It's a struggle. They hold a super serious mass, and then, miraculously, somebody stops. The feet just stop. Slowly, one by one, the ultimate terrible silent disco powers down. The city goes back to normal. Bureaucrats, doctors, priests, they all documented the absolute heck out of it in the official records. Their final conclusion: we have no idea. Cause unknown. 400 people. Just imagine the scale of that. As for Frau Troffea, she ghosted history. Nobody knows what happened to her. Her husband clearly learned to stop asking questions. The doctors never admitted they were wrong, obviously. The city moved on, but the trauma was so real that people still physically tiptoed around that exact spot in the square. 5 centuries later, experts are still fighting over what happened. Whatever it was, today, you can literally take a selfie there and have no clue you're standing on the world's most cursed dance floor. Hundreds of people forced to dance until they dropped, and nobody knows why. History is stupid.
Next up, the Coke disaster.
1985, Coca-Cola was practically a religion in America, but behind closed doors, executives were sweating bullets. The Pepsi challenge was stealing their customers, and these suits were about to make the most wildly confident, insanely terrible business decision of the 20th century.
They ran 200,000 secret taste tests. The new, sweeter formula won. But when focus groups literally begged them not to cancel the original, Coke's executives just shoved those warnings into a drawer and said, "Who cares about feelings? We have data."
They literally locked 99 years of history in a bank vault and mass-produced 400,000 cases of new Coke. The marketing team was high-fiving, totally oblivious to the fact that they were loading a corporate shotgun and pointing it directly at their own feet.
The CEO announces the death of the original Coke, fully expecting a standing ovation. Instead, the journalists look at him like he just announced he was canceling oxygen. The next morning, America woke up, read the paper, and collectively lost its mind. The backlash wasn't just bad, it was an uprising. People were dumping new Coke down the sewer on live television. The hotline got 8,000 calls a day, and the mailroom was buried in letters that required a priest to safely read.
Coke's operators had to listen to grandmas threaten them, teenagers sob uncontrollably, and grown men read perfectly formatted manifestos about how a slight recipe tweak had single-handedly ruined their will to live.
People hoarded classic Coke like it was post-apocalyptic currency, selling it out of trunks for $30 a pop. Someone even called the FBI to report fake soda. The actual FBI investigating a soft drink hoax.
77 days of hell later, the CEO finally looks at the burning wreckage of his brand and says the four most expensive words in corporate history: bring back the original. The entire company basically sprinted to the phones to beg for forgiveness. Peter Jennings literally interrupted a daytime soap opera to break the news. Strangers were hugging in the supermarket. A U.S. senator called it a day of joy because Americans will absolutely go to war for their corn syrup.
Did Coke plan it all along? Some conspiracy theorists think so, but nobody accidentally triggers an FBI investigation for marketing. They made millions off their own monumental screw-up because history is stupid.
Next up, we have a dog appointed as mayor. Welcome to Rabbit Hash, Kentucky. Population, 315 people, and exactly one very good boy. In 1998, this tiny town held an open mayoral election. They posted a notice that said, all candidates welcome, and crucially, they forgot to specify human candidates. The locals immediately got an idea. This good boy was just chilling by the Ohio River, completely unbothered, while democracy was knocking on his door. At $1 per vote, the town was about to let literally anyone or anything run for office. Peak democracy, folks. You've got these super earnest human candidates pitching actual policies. Then Jordy nominates a black lab named Goofy, who is busy staring at the floor. The election official checks the rulebook, finds 0 rules against dogs, and just hits it with the accepted stamp. Pure institutional comedy. The human candidates are absolutely shook, especially one guy who takes this very seriously. Meanwhile, Goofy's official posters go up everywhere, and the candidate himself is literally just sniffing the gutter. He is running the most unbothered campaign in American history. Goofy's campaign HQ is bustling, while the candidate himself is literally unconscious under the table. He's doing meet and greets where his entire policy platform is just licking people's faces. And honestly, the voters feel extremely heard. The serious human candidate watches from across the street, suffering the tragedy of knowing he is losing to a Labrador. At $1 a vote, people are literally throwing cash at the dog. The town is buzzing, and Goofy hasn't even looked at his own giant campaign banner once. Election day! The Goofy box is overflowing with cash. Where's the candidate? Intensely sniffing a fence post, obviously. That night, they count the votes, and the serious candidate has to stand there and watch his political dreams get crushed by a literal pet. The results are in. Goofy wins by a landslide. The room goes wild. The serious guy needs a minute to process his life choices, and they find the newly elected mayor chilling outside on the porch. They tell him he won. He wags his tail. Truly a masterful victory speech.
Time for the inauguration. They officially tie the mayoral bandana around his neck while he sniffs the guy's hand. In his official portrait, he's looking the completely wrong way. The crazy part, the town just carries on like this is a totally normal way to run a local government.
Even the rival human candidate gives him a respectful nod of defeat. Goofy's first official act is a ribbon-cutting ceremony where he immediately tries to eat the ribbon. The town is so proud they literally put up a sign flexing their dog mayor to confuse tourists.
Let's look at Mayor Goofy's grueling daily schedule. Shaking paws, sleeping straight through official town meetings, and posing for tourist traps. He's nailing every single duty that doesn't require opposable thumbs.
He personally inspects the official mail by sniffing it heavily. He conducts neighborhood patrols by staring at lampposts. He's honestly doing way less damage than most human politicians, and he works entirely for treats.
National journalists show up expecting a prank, but the town is dead serious. One local's like, he listens, he shows up, he doesn't argue. The reporter actually tries to interview Goofy, who responds by aggressively staring at a bird. Pure journalistic gold. The official press photo of the mayor is literally him looking under a desk for snacks. The journalists drive away realizing they got outplayed by a town's sheer sincerity. The headline runs, elected a dog and meant it. Respect. Goofy serves for 8 amazing years until he crosses the Rainbow Bridge. The whole town, even his old political rival, shows up to mourn. But democracy never sleeps. Next election, they just nominate another dog named Junior, and he stares at the floor exactly the same way.
They tied the legendary bandana on Junior, continuing the sacred lineage from Goofy to Junior to Lucy to Gwyneth Paltrow, a literal dynasty of very good boys and girls. And guess what? The town is absolutely thriving. Take notes, Washington. It turns out Rabbit Hash started a whole movement. You've got Stubbs the cat ruling a town in Alaska for 15 years, and a Minnesota cat getting reelected 3 times. This isn't just a meme anymore, it's a legitimate political strategy. Think about it. These towns realize that human politicians just yell from podiums and break promises. But a dog? A dog just sits on a porch, watches the river, and never ruins your day. It's the most honest form of local government we have. 25 years later, the street looks exactly the same. The river is exactly the same. The dog on the porch is different, but the vibe is eternal. Rabbit Hash cracked the code. Sometimes history isn't about massive wars or giant scams. Sometimes history's just a dog on a porch.
And that's a wrap on episode 3. 5 insane stories of humanity being, well, humanity. In Rabbit Hash, human mayor since 1998? 0. Current status of the mayoral office? Occupied by a furry genius. History is stupid, but honestly, this part of it is pretty great. See you next time.